A silent revolution took place in the state of Osun in virtually every sphere of life endeavor between November 2010 and November 2018. The revolutionary was a determined individual who had a conviction after careful research and consultations that a turnaround was possible in the way things were done in the state, and so, like an acorn, the 6 integral action plan of Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola blossomed into an oak tree. And if the 8-year phenomenon 2010 to 2018 was anything to go by, the state obviously had become the yardstick by which rapid development is measured in Nigeria, if not in our sub-region of Africa. The much acclaimed developments are very visible in the areas of education, roads, agriculture, rural and urban renewal, sports and youth development, employment creation, commerce, health. In Nigeria, during his time in office, Aregbesola was the only governor who came with a prepared document which most referred to as manifesto, but which he called My Pact with the People of Osun, the 6 Integral Action Plan, with promises that interconnects virtually every area of life, namely banish poverty, banish hunger, banish unemployment, create work and wealth, restore healthy living, promote functional education, and enhance communal peace and progress. Let us now begin with education.
He tried his own possible best. I can say that, especially in the schools, school buildings, they are very good examples which nobody has done before.
It is in the open. The achievement of Aregbesola abounds everywhere, especially in Ilesha. We have schools, the modern school buildings for students, and the downtrodden parents now can have their children in a school where the rich people put their children before. There is a closing up gap between the rich and the poor.
You can see many new building primary school and secondary school, and they're giving them free food.
Education as a whole, when you look at the whole infrastructure development, the man has done perfectly well.
The state of infrastructure and morale of the teachers and the taught in the state of Osun was, to say the least, at the lowest ebb when Aregbesola took over the mantle of leadership of the state. The man of courage that he was, the former governor took on the bull of development by the horns. He kick-started the re-engineering of the primary and secondary tiers of education by holding an educational summit which was held with eggheads from far and near in attendance, notable among who were Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka and others. This summit, apart from x-raying the parlous state of education with a view to finding lasting solutions to them, it developed a blueprint for grade and age group educational system in which no child was left behind.
The first thing we did was to decentralize TESCOM, which was solely in care of the post-primary school education. We set up the district system of education and had 3 district sections for manning the post-primary education. So we were able to decentralize management and administration of education within the state by coming up with 5 permanent secretaries to perform the functions and duties which hitherto were performed by only 1 permanent secretary in the Ministry of Education. Beyond the decentralization, we also had reclassification. With the reclassification of our schools, we are the first state in Nigeria to come up with the idea of putting students of the same age bracket in the same school. With this, we classified our education system into 3 segments: the elementary school, the middle school, and the high school. The elementary schools in the state comprise of pupils between the ages of 6 and 9. We put them in grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4. And the elementary school education terminates at grade 4. From grade 4, students are promoted to grade 5. From grade 5, they join the middle school structure. The middle school structure runs up to grade 9. So they spend 5 years in the middle school and 4 years in the elementary school, giving them the 9 years that have been directed by the Federal Ministry of Education for students to stay in school before moving to the high school. So at the high school, we take in students from grade 10, grade 11, grade 12.
It also recommended to government the idea of a wholesome learning environment that imbues confidence and stimulates creative teaching and learning. It was the opinion of the summit that 21st century citizens could not be incubated in Stone Age facilities.
The structure of education as we met it, or as it was, could not produce any responsible citizen. And the goal of education is to produce citizens that are conscious of their role in society, as much as they are aware of their role to themselves. Well-rounded human beings, whom we call Omoluabi, virtuous people.
This was the reason state-of-the-art structures were provided so that the state could produce students able to compete globally.
Look at the schools. Look at the schools. Look at it's the standard, and it's not only in Oschool. You don't see it all over the state.
Wọ́n kọ́ àwọn school tó dáa, wọ́n kọ́ fún wa. Lẹ́yìn wọ́n tún fún àwọn ọmọ wa náà lóúnjẹ ọ̀fẹ́.
I came from Lagos State. Oschool State, they manage their schools very well. I love that. Their way of managing schools, I love it so much. It attracts me.
There's no doubt that Ogbeni means well for the people of Oschool State in terms of the developments, because you can see some of the gigantic schools that
Aregbe náà kọ́ iléèwé fún wa nílùú Èjìgbò là ń pè ní Wọlé Ṣóyínká. Ó tíráì àti mẹ̀kúnnù àtolówó gbogbo wa là ń lọ ọ̀bẹ̀. Kò sí dààmú fẹ́ni kankan níbí ìgbà yìí. Oore àlùbáríkà ń sì ń wọlé fún wa kọ́ lọ́ọ́ ran àwọn náà lọ́wọ́. I don't see any of the states comparing with Oschool in terms of infrastructural development.
It will be an understatement to call the implementation of the set goals a tall order. But the erstwhile governor had promised the people, and a deal was a deal. Means were found to actualize good schools, knowledgeable teachers, and ancillary service providers. Aregbesola, with his formidable team, worked to make robust learning available to the children of the state of Osun. After all, this was his electioneering campaign promise to the people, to carry out extraordinary intervention in the education sector. After the summit, Rauf Aregbesola commissioned a survey of public primary and secondary schools in Oschool, which attempted to capture conditions and cost of bringing the schools, quote, to a reasonable level of civilized usage, unquote, because according to the former governor, the primary and secondary schools in the state could not qualify for habitation in other climes. While this was ongoing, programs to retrain the teachers were set in motion. These training workshops imbued the teachers with a new vision of education and improvements in other areas including ICT.
We train our teachers periodically on things that we know they need to know more about.
We're trained on Excel, on how to enter our marks after we are finished marking to prepare for the results.
Government provides necessary infrastructure facilities that can encourage people to teach and students to learn very well.
And as if to say that was not enough, the teachers were further encouraged to be dedicated by the Aregbesola administration when promotions long overdue were implemented and new ones added. Now, back to State of Osun schools, pre-Aregbesola intervention, and taking a look around the senatorial districts of the state, the story was the same. What the committee of the observers recorded, some of which you are seeing now, were mind-boggling. The degradation ranged from broken down furniture to no furniture at all in some places, completely broken down building structures, rain-destroyed roofs, worn-out roofs, completely dilapidated urban and rural schools, and so on. They concluded that these could not be environments in which world-class scholars and professionals were produced. If we were complaining about students' poor performances, it became obvious that the system contributed immensely to it. How do we expect 21st century students to learn and get results in decrepit classrooms and run-down schools without the required facilities that aid success? As the computer gurus will say, if you feed the computer garbage, it will serve you garbage back. Garbage in, garbage out. It was glaring to the committee that the negative trend must be turned around. So the government think tank, at the behest of Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola, sat down to ruminate on the way forward. Plans were made, technical inputs were sorted, and contracts running to billions of naira were awarded in phases for the building of the new schools that are the pride of the black race dotting the State of Osun landscape today. In spite of the downturn in the state of Nigeria's economy, which affected some projects, all schools were completed and inhabited before handing over at the end of his tenure.
To address the dilapidated structure that we met on ground across the states, the government came up with a policy called Oschool, that is reconstruction, rehabilitation, and rebuilding of schools in the state of Osun. When we came up with the policy, the initial plan was to build 100 elementary schools, 50 middle schools, and 20 high schools. But because of paucity of funds, today we have been able to complete the construction of 25 new state-of-the-art elementary schools across the state. We have renovated and rebuilt over 80 elementary schools through superb intervention and collaboration. For the middle schools of the same standard, we have plenty of such schools. For the state-of-the-art high schools, we have constructed 11.
To date, we have built 1,063 classrooms. New state-of-the-art, beautiful.
Our infrastructural provision for schools is world class, and what informs it we're developing world-class citizens.
Undaunted, the state government continued to make giant strides in education and other areas that placed the state of Osun on a global pedestal. Now let's take a look around at the developments in schools infrastructure around the state. First, we shall see the standard of facility at the elementary schools, followed by middle schools and finally high schools. By the end of the subsequent episode on education, you will see why parents withdrew their wards from private to public schools in the state of Osun during the Aregbesola years. Time now to listen to the citizens low and high in the state who are witnesses to these developmental strides, most especially the monumental changes in the schools. What did they say?
When he introduced his own system of education, the middle school, the high school, something, there was a bit of noise from some angles that is introducing different methods.
Yàbá sọ ní ti òdodo, èrò ọkàn wa ní ìgbà tí Arẹ́gbẹ́ dé. Èrò ọkàn ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ni pé bí ọmọ gàfé kan ló dé tí ò ní nǹkan kan tí ó ní ṣe kọjá ijó àti gbogbo nǹkan kọ́kàdá gbogbo ẹ̀rú. But sí ìyàlẹ́nu wa àwọn ìhùwàsí ẹ̀ àti àwọn ìṣe rẹ̀ látìgbà tó ti dé Ọ̀ṣun ó fi hàn gẹ́gẹ́ bí ọmọlúàbí àti àwọn ètò ìdàgbàsókè gbogbo tí ń ṣe tá àti ẹ̀nírètí ẹ̀ sí. So ó yà wá lẹ́nu kan gbogbo àwọn ètò tí ó ń ṣe tó ètò ń ṣe ní ọwọ́ lọ́wọ́ báyìí.
If you look in the field of education, you look at this, the educational infrastructures being put in place here and there. Look at Oschool High School. Look at the one at Ilesha, and so on and so forth. So he has touched that education sector. Even the agri sector, he has touched it. One can go on counting.
Ilé-ìwé yí padà nígbà tí gómìnà wa débẹ̀ Rauf Aregbe ọ̀tún nípa ilé-ìwé. Àwọn àgbààgbà gan ká ti wọ bí 70 táàmù ìwé dáadáa tẹ́lẹ̀ à ń mú wa lọ sí ìkùsùkúrú àgbà à ń kàwé àkọ̀wé. So they are coming away,
Education has improved. In fact, you now find that instead of people staying in ramshackle buildings, you have good buildings from elementary to high school level. Beautiful buildings, classrooms, toilets, and teachers are also motivated. Because when you are in a good environment, you are motivated to learn.
The schools which he built is very marvelous. They look like polytechnic or a university, whereas they are meant for the primary school pupils and secondary school boys. Very, very impressive and very encouraging.
Look at our schools. Those schools I'm seeing, they are building now, at least for 100 years. It's just like olden days, like Babawolo was owned. Like the one they are building now. In fact, it will be there for like 50 years or thereafter.
It must be remarked that all the efforts of Aregbesola on education did not go unnoticed by other stakeholders within and outside the country. We've had so much to show in this episode, but in subsequent episodes, we shall zero in on mode of instruction, that is, the real academics that happen in the schools, also management and quality control, maintenance, welfare, and OMIL, security, beneficiaries, and the economic implications of these schools in the short, medium, and long run. That's our program this week. Join us at the same time on this channel next time.
Hey!